Hi, I'm Ed from RIDGID. Today we're going to talk about the SF-2500. This is basically a small refrigeration system that allows you to create a freeze plug inside of a copper line or a steel line. The capacity on this is from 1/2 inch to 2.5 inch copper or 1/2 inch to 2 inch steel pipe. The standard equipment, you get a quick grip, you get some velcro straps, you get a water bottle, which will explain how to use this stuff, and you get the cool gel as well. Okay? Also, what comes with it are these adapter bushings, and what they allow you to do, since steel, for example, is a different outside diameter than copper is, you use these adapters accordingly to go ahead and fit it snugly around the pipe. These other adapters that are here are for the end of these freeze heads, and these will go on there like so. The reason that you can do that is because if you have an area where it's a little tight, you can actually just use the end of it. So you have two of them for 1/2 and 2 of them for 3/4 respectively. Okay? Now what we have set up here is just a basic small copper system. Okay? We have a gauge at the top there, and what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pressurize this a little bit and turn this valve on. And as you can see there, the valve should have about 20 pounds of pressure on it. And that's good right there. So I'll put on my safety equipment, and what I'm going to do is unravel these one at a time and position them where I see necessary. In this case, since it's just a mock-up, we're just going to corner the gauge, for lack of better words. I'm going to take my cool gel, bring this around here like so, put some of the cool gel on the pipe itself, and grab a strap here. Bring this around the front, it might be easier. I'm going to use a 1/2 inch side. Each side of this is for a different size pipe, so be sure and refer to your operator's manual so that you know which side to use for what size and style of pipe. So we'll draw that on there like so. And it doesn't really matter where it falls, it's just make sure you got some of that cool gel. And what that cool gel actually does is it acts as a bridge between the imperfections of the copper. Sometimes there could be a piece of pipe that's partially crushed or out of shape for any reason. So that's why you use the cool gel. Okay? We'll grab our other freeze head here. Let me unravel this. And again, you don't want to pull on these. What's inside of this hose is a capillary tubing that takes the compressed gas, Freon, and pumps it through that capillary tubing, and when it hits the freeze head, it expands, just like a normal air conditioning system would, and that's what creates the drop in temperature that freezes things. So I'm going to bring this around here, put that right there like so. In this case, since we're vertical, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of the freeze gel here on the freeze head, and I'm going to put that there just like that, and I will wrap my velcro strap around it. Okay, so now that everything is set, I have everything where I want it. What I'm going to do now is plug the unit in and turn it on. Now as this thing turns on, okay, you have to give it a few minutes. It depends on ambient temperature. So the hotter it is, as far as temperature around you, the longer it's going to take to freeze it. Also, it also depends on the temperature of the liquid that's inside of the pipe. So if it's a little hotter, it's going to take you a lot longer, or a little longer, I shouldn't say a lot, but it all depends on temperatures. It's going to take you a little bit longer to freeze it. So be patient with this. And we also have a spray bottle here with some water in it. And what we're going to do as this starts to freeze, I'm actually going to start squirting the freeze head around the pipe with some of this water. Okay, and it'll create what we call an ice bridge. So that's kind of like the gasket that ties the two together and creates a direct connection between the freeze head and the copper. So this is going to get a little loud, so I'll turn this on. We have 2 fans up here, okay, and that's the noise that you hear. Okay, so as you can see here, everything's been frozen, and you can see that your lines coming from the Superfreeze unit are also freezing. That's perfectly fine. It's a telltale sign that things are working the way they should. We started at about 20 to 22 pounds. Now we're up to almost 40. The ice, as it expands inside of the copper tubing, is going to create pressure. So be careful when you're doing this that you don't put it real close to an elbow or very close to a gauge, because you can actually blow that fitting out. What we're going to do now is we're going to relieve some of the pressure, and you can watch the gauge up there to see that the pressure has not been lost. So I'm just going to drain this system out a little bit. You can see that we still have pressure in there. I'm going to crack this one open just to create some air so we can move the water rather quickly. There we go. Okay, so I will shut both of these off now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my tubing cutter. I'm going to cut this right about there in the middle. And when you're doing this, guys, have everything prepared that you know you're going to need. Okay? So have your valve if you're going to replace a valve, or you know, if you're going to sweat this back together. Let me shut the pressure off on this real quick. There we go. So now our line is fine. You can see that we still have pressure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab our press fitting, and I'm going to gently move this out of the way, just as you see there. Is I'm going to grab our pressing tool, model 340 with a 1/2 inch jaw on it, and since this has a stop on it, I'm going to go ahead and press that in place. Now once you're confident that everything is sealed up and you have all of your work in place, okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and shut off the unit. So I have everything secured. I've pressed that back in place. My valves are shut off. You can see the amount of pressure that we have there. And I'm going to go ahead and shut the Superfreeze unit off. Now in this case it could take a few minutes to thaw everything out. Try not to remove this. As a matter of fact, don't remove them until they are thawed out, because you can very easily crack these lines right now. You have to realize that everything is frozen. So give it a chance to thaw out. Just let the ambient temperature go ahead and thaw this out. And once it's done, you can remove the freeze heads, and as you'll see that the pressure will start to drop as those plugs start to thaw out. So what we actually did was we created a freeze plug in here, and that's what kept the pressure on the gauge. Now that everything is off, I've shut the pressure valve off on this, and what's going to happen is, through time-lapse video, as you can see, we're going to go ahead and leave the camera on and show you how long it takes to thaw this out and what happens to the pressure as well. Heads have thawed out, both of them, and what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and remove the Velcro strap. And we'll set this on here for now, and we're going to do the same with the other, and we'll set that right there for now, and afterwards we'll carefully roll them up and put them back in the box. Now this was a small scale demonstration that we were doing here. Think about it in these terms, though. You know, you have a hotel, it's full of guests. You know, you have a water line that's starting to leak, or something's wrong with a valve that you can't shut off. You know, instead of cutting service to the entire hotel and inconveniencing everybody, you can use a Superfreeze to isolate that valve, or whatever the case may be, and make your repairs and put it back together very quickly and very efficiently. So think about it along those lines when you go to use this. There's a lot of different things that you can use it for. You know, refer to your operator's manuals as far as temperatures and different things like that, and what liquids you can freeze and what liquids you can't freeze, and go from there. Thanks for watching.